So some of you will know, those of you in the UK will know, those of you elsewhere might not know, that a few years ago, the UK government introduced new laws to say that when you go to vote, you need to take photo ID with you. So a driving license or a passport. Controversially, an old person's bus pass was allowed. That's like a thing that exists in the UK, just for context. Like an over 60s bus pass, you get free buses if you're over a certain age. But student IDs and similar things for like younger people didn't count. And this was all very controversial. You have never, until this point, needed to take any form of identification with you when you go to vote. You get sent a thing called a polling card in the post, which essentially says it's got your name on it, and then it will say your address, and it will say where your polling station is. So it will say, go to St. Cuthbert's School and it will say when the voting day is as well. And you can take that with you if you want to just go like, look, here's the person I am, here's all the info, and they can look at that and they can mark you off on their sheet. But until the last elections we had, I think were maybe the first time you needed it, you've never needed any identification. You can turn up and you just say your name, and you say the first line of your address and your name. They find you on their list, and that has never led to any kind of widespread voter fraud, right? There's never been any problems with that system that have where people have gone, oh, people are voting 1 million times, or someone's going in and going, I'm number 1 4 Street, and I'm all of those people. Now I'm number 2 4 Street, and I'm all of those people. Like, it's just never been a problem. But the Conservative Party decided that they would introduce a new system where you do need to bring ID to vote. So accepted forms of ID, you can bring a passport, a driving license, a blue badge, which is the thing that you put on your car if you have a disability, or if you, I don't know if there's any other instances where you get a blue badge, but that basically says like, I'm good to park in this spot. You can take an older person's bus pass. You can take a disabled person's bus pass. You can take a 60 plus London Oyster photo card funded by Transport for London. You can take I don't know what a freedom pass is. You can take a Scottish National Entitlement card for if you're 60 plus. You can take a 60 and over Welsh concessionary travel card. So a lot of these things that were for older people, you could take. And there is a system whereby if you don't have anything at all, you can apply for a voter authority certificate. I did see someone tweet earlier today saying that they'd applied for one and taken one with them, and even the person behind the desk had never seen one before. I'm sure they'd been like told that they existed, but hadn't actually seen one in person. Because that's like a whole thing, right? Like, you have to be a committed voter, that if you don't have an ID, that you're going to go and apply for a voter authority certificate. And we know who the people who are the most committed voters are, don't we? And the people with the time on their hands to go and get that sorted. So functionally, this was a kind of attempt to gerrymander, right? This was an attempt to go, let's make it harder for younger people to vote. Let's make it easier for older people to vote. Harder for poorer people to vote, who are less likely to have passports hanging around. I suppose most people probably have a driving license, but was essentially adding a hassle hurdle, right? At the very least, it's adding the thing of you have to be the kind of person that keeps up to date with whether or not the system for how you vote has changed. And if you're retired and have the time, then even if you've not seen that, you might get there, find out you need your ID, go back, get it, and come back to vote. Whereas if you have work to go to, you might be like, well, I can't go home and get my driving license now. So yeah, so it was essentially an attempt to kind of do a little bit of a gerrymander. The government that introduced this law was led by Boris Johnson. And guess who forgot his ID to vote? It was Boris Johnson. So he turned up to his polling station and found that one of the laws that he had passed to make it hard for people to vote meant that he could not vote. I assume he then went back. Here we go. A source close to Johnson confirmed that he had forgotten the photo ID, but did later vote. Oh, also, I saw this on Twitter as well. Some people had gone along taking their armed forces cards or their veterans cards, which are... I swear I saw one of someone who was still in the forces in some way, who had gone along and taken out their forces or veterans cards to use that as their ID to vote. And that doesn't count either. And it's a real, like... This is not, like, a good portion of people who were in the military are likely to... Like, they are at least more likely to vote Tory than the rest of the population. So they also accidentally kind of gerrymandered the wrong part of the population there as well. Just a brilliant story. Like this really is a cracking story.